Hi. In case you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Maggie, and I want to speak about something very important that occurred earlier today. And this is the sharing of the IPCC report. And my students were asking me, what is IPCC? What does it even stand for? Why is everybody speaking about it? Why is every international news media covering the story? Is it even relevant to me or to the things that we are doing? And in case you are wondering, you can join me as I shed some light to you as well. And IPCC stands for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. I'll be referring to the notes that I used with the students earlier. And IPCC was started in 1988 by the World Meteorological Organization, and also I believe the United Nations Environmental Program that is based in our country, the UNEP. But before we speak about the establishment of the IPCC in 1988, I want to let you in on something that happened earlier on, that is in 1987, and that is the sharing of a report that is now commonly known as Our Common Future, or the Brundtland report. Brundtland is the Norwegian prime minister that was leading the process, and he was commissioned to do the report earlier on in 1983 by the then Secretary General of the United Nations. I believe he was Javier Perez, and I also believe that I'm pronouncing the name correctly. So now, the reason why I'm bringing this Our Common Future report, it is because Our Common Future report, anyone in development knows we regard this report as the foundation of development, implementation of development as we know it today. And there are two findings that are very crucial to the report of IPCC, or even the establishment of IPCC. Two of the crucial points, recommendations in that earlier report we can argue that the Brundtland report was the first report of such magnitude, of such that was embraced by many governments at the time, to actually acknowledge publicly and openly that the activities of human beings are having such a tremendous negative effect on the environment. Also, the second point is that the Brundtland report recommended that it is now important, and it is of paramount importance for government and states to start dealing with the issues of climate change collectively. Before, the issues of the climate change were being dealt with, were being dealt by the states differently as they so wished. For instance, maybe the government of the United States would commission a report to find out the effects that big corporations such as Boeing are having in the environment in Seattle, Washington. But then they would just discuss the findings and maybe discuss the way forward amongst themselves. But the 1987 report started to argue that we need, as a matter of urgencies, to start dealing with the issues of climate change collectively as the world today. And we need to come up with ways on how to address the issues of climate change. As if that is not enough, we need to come up with ways of measuring how we are progressing on the implementation of the things that we have agreed upon. So that is why that report was very important. But now, come 1988, it was realized that we cannot just be speaking. We cannot just be making roadside declarations. We need to have a scientific-based either group or document or findings that are guiding us, that are giving us the correct things of how exactly we are affecting the climate. And so the IPCC was formed. And the work of IPCC, very quickly, is that it organizes expert meetings, workshops, and publishes proceedings of this meeting, as any other framework or forum would do. But then also, IPCC, what I want us to understand today, our take home, is that IPCC has 3 thematic areas, all 3 technical working groups, if you like. I prefer to call them the TWGs. And these TWGs produce 3 reports. The first one is called, or rather deals with the physical science of the climate change. When you hear about head of and government in the United Nations, people discussing about the effects of the methane gas, CO2 gas, laughing gas on the ozone layer, when you hear about acidification of the ocean, when you hear about complicated things such as the biosphere integrity that you can go and Google later, when you want to hear about the loss of biodiversity, that there are animals that are becoming extinct, they are not just making these things up. It is not just opinions or ideas. This is information that is coming from the report, scientifically, that is, and also we can say technically, that is being produced by the IPCC. That is where they get the information from. And then it is also important to note that IPCC draws membership from, I believe right now, the 195 members of the United Nations, but then there are also observer groups and civil society organizations that participate in those meetings by invitation. Also, and these people are contributed, the scientists, the scientists especially in the technical group, the technical people are forwarded by the states to the IPCC. Remember, the United Nations have the member nations, the member countries, and then now these member countries select individuals from their nations who are going to participate in the IPCC. Now, group number 2 of the IPCC, it deals with the impacts, adaptations, and vulnerabilities to climate change. After we have gotten the science behind the issues of climate change, the issues of the environment, what are the impacts? They're the ones now who tell us that our activities as human beings are causing droughts, like the one that has been occurring right now in the Horn of Africa, the cyclones that we're experiencing, tornadoes, wildfires, typhoons, tsunamis, and every other impact you can think as a result of the climate change. They are also the same people who tell us, who advise us on adaptation mechanism. What do we do? Do we plant trees? Do we build our houses very far away from the river so that we are not affected by the floods, the flash floods? How do we deal with our livestock so that they do not become vulnerable to drought? And also even the vulnerability. For instance, I would think those people who are living near the shoreline of a certain ocean, how vulnerable are they to tsunamis? How at risk are they to any activity or that can happen to the ocean? So that is group number 2. And then the group number 3 deals with mitigation of climate change. We have known about the scientific component. We have known about the impact, the vulnerability that it is having on how people are vulnerable, the impact that it is having on human beings and other elements at risk such as animals, plants, environment. So how do we address that? How do we mitigate that? How do we ensure that, how do we even reverse some of the activities that has resulted as a result of climate change? And because I do not want this video to be longer than that, I hope that I've given you great insight or something to make you go and look out more what IPCC is all about, and generally what climate change is about, because climate change is now a thing that is just being thrown around, and there are people who do not even know exactly what we mean when we are speaking about climate change. Thank you very much, and do catch me again if you can. Bye.